Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasa Tato Jayamudhirayet. Hare Krishna, good morning. So probably we speak in English. But you speak English, German? Beides, okay. English, I think everybody speaks English. We speak in English. Und Brian wird übersetzen ins Deutsche. Can I have the book? Ah. Kann ich dir das Deutsche geben?
Ich probier's mal.
Hä?
Ich probier's mal.
Übersetzen? Ne, lesen oder wie?
Wenn du gesagt hast, wie ich Deutsch lesen kann.
Nee, nur damit ihr das Buch habt, ihr könnt dann. Okay, so wir lesen aus dem Srimad, we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 19, Text 23? 27 already. Okay, 27. Text 27. Please repeat. Tan Ridvijaha Shakra Badha Abhisanditam Vichakshya Dushprekshyam Asahyam Ranghasam Nivarayam Asur Aho Mahamate Najujjate Atranyam Vadaha Prachoditat. So let's see how we go with this melody. I think this is like similar like Brahma Samhita. Tamridvija Shakarava Vadabhisanditam Vichakshya Dushpreksham Asahya Ramhasam Nivarayam Asuraho Mahamate Najujyate Tranya Vadah Prachoditat Tamridvija Shakra Vadhabhisanditam Vichakshya Dushpreksham Asahya Ranghasam Nivarayam Asuraho Mahamate Najujyate Tranya Vada Prachoditat Tamridvija Shakra Vada Visanditam Vichakshya Dushprekshamahasya Ranghasam Nivarayam asuraho mahamate. Na yuchyate tranya vada prachoditad. Ladies, anybody else? Please repeat word by word translation. Tam King Prithu, Ridvijaha, the priests, Shakravada, killing the king of heavens, Abhisanditam, thus preparing himself, Vichakshya, having observed, Dusprekshyam, terrible to look at, Asahyam, unbearable, Ramhasam, whose velocity, Nivarayam, Asuhu, they forbade, Aho, O, Mahamate, O great soul, Na, not, Yujyate, is worthy for you, Atra, in this sacrificial arena, Anya, others, Vadaha, killing, Prachoditat, from being so directed in the scriptures. Translation on purpose by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When the priests and all the others saw Maharaj Prithu very angry and prepared to kill Indra, they requested him, O great soul, do not kill him, for only sacrificial animals can be killed in a sacrifice. Such are the directions given by Shastra. Purport. Animal killing is intended for different purposes. It tests the proper pronunciation of Vedic mantras, and an animal being put into the sacrificial fire should come out with a new life. No one should ever be killed in a sacrifice meant for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu. How then could Indra be killed when he is actually worshipped in the yajna and accepted as part of parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Therefore the priests requested King Prithu not to kill him. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyanangyana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Namo Prabhupada Priyarasaya Jagannatha Yatrananda Murtaye Bhakta Sukaya Krishna Utkirtanena Nisinghena Rakshataya Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatarine Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Tinamine Shri Varshavana Videvi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayini Prabhave Namaha Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sankarshana Karanato Yashai Garbhodashai Chapayobdishai Sheshascha Kala Sanityananda Kyarama Sharanam Mamastu Namo Mahavaranjaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvise Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam Namaste Halagraha Namaste Mushalayuda Namaste Revatikanta Namaste Bhaktavatsala Namaste Dharanidhara Namaste Balalam Shishta Pralambare Namaste Stvehi Mam Krishna Purvaja He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopipakanta Radhakanta Namostate Jayatam Surato Pangor Mamamanda Matirgati Matsarvasva Padambajo Radhamadana Mohano Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadru Mada Srimad Radangara Simhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Deva Uprashtalivi Savamana Usmarami Shriman Rasa Rasaram Vivam Siva Tatatastitaha Karsham Veno Swanar Gopir Gopinata Shri Estunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So once again the verse. Tam Ridvija Shakra Vadabisanditam Vichakshya Dushpreksham Asahya Ramhasam Nivarayam Asuraho Mahabate Najujyate Tranya Vadha Prachodhitat. When the priest and all the others saw Maharaj Prithu very angry and prepared to kill Indra, they requested him, O great soul, to not kill him, for only sacrificial animals can be killed in a sacrifice. Such are the directions given by the Shastra. So, yes, we're continuing with this very interesting story from the Bhagavatam, where Maharaj Prithu is quite angry at King Indra. So King Indra is actually the king of heaven. So we consider that we are living in the middle planetary systems and that there are higher planetary systems, heavenly planetary systems. But those heavenly planetary systems are not the eternal heaven. So in some religions, the idea is we go to heaven, which is a place where we enjoy, basically. Whatever we like to do here, we can do there also. So you will find, for example, the Germanic heaven is called Valhalla. Valhalla. And in Valhalla, it's a very nice big hall with a lot of German best Oktoberfest brew, And then in Islam, you have, a different idea. You can drink a lot of wine, and there's a lot of ladies waiting for you, like that. There are different conceptions of, some heavenly situation. But, and you can say not but, and in the Vedas, there's also this idea that there is a heavenly place, and there's also very good drinks. The drink in the Vedas is called Somarasa. But the difference is that in the Vedas, this place is not considered to be an eternal place. It's not an eternal place. It's not the ultimate destination, you could also say. The ultimate destination is not a place where you can finally enjoy, materially speaking, to a huge extent. And very often Srila Prabhupada compares going to the heavenly planets. If you are very pious and a good person, people will think if you follow your religion, you will go to heaven. So going to heaven, Srila Prabhupada compares to going on holidays. So when you work very hard, you work 11 months of the year, you work very hard, then 30 days, you have holidays. So those 30 days holidays, no work. Everybody's serving you. You have big buffet for breakfast. You don't have to quickly make your toast and run to work. You have like a huge buffet. You have thousands of options what you want to eat, and you go out swimming. You lie just lazy on the beach. You come back, your room is clean again. So holidays. And you can have holidays because you worked hard. If you don't work hard, probably you can afford, nice holidays. So in a similar way, if you live a pious life, karmically speaking, the idea is that after you die, you can go to a heavenly situation. The only difference is that this holiday lasts actually quite long. Not only 30 days. It is described that. According to the Vedic time calculation, the time that passes in heaven is in a different scale than how we experience time here. So they say that in the heavenly planets, where Indra is the king, 24 hours are 1 year here. So when 24 hours pass there, it's 1 year here. So 1 year there is, quite a long time here, like that. So basically, 365 years. So like that, in the heavenly planets, people also live 100 years, but their 100 years are much longer than our 100 years. And to understand this idea of relativity of time, we also can, there's one example which is helpful, there is some insects that only live for 24 hours. So, at night, Papa and Mama, they put the larvae into the mud, during the night they develop, and then in the morning when the sun comes, they come out of the mud, and they fly around, and they meet their partner, and also put some eggs into the mud, and look at the sunset and die happy together. So 24 hours, one full life cycle. So the life cycle of this insect is quite short, but that's a full life cycle for this insect. So in a similar way, the dogs, they live longer, but in comparison to humans, they also live shorter. And there is this general, I don't know how scientific it is, but general rule of thumb, you could say, that 7 years, 1 year of a human equals to 7 years of a dog. So that's why, you can expect that if you have a dog, you will experience its death. And probably you will have a few dogs, because then you're so devastated that your dog died that you need to get a new dog. Cats, I don't know what the ratio is. Somebody knows how long cats live? I don't know. But of course, they also don't live as long. You have a cat. You should find out. Yeah? And then there are living entities that live much longer than humans, also on planet Earth. I was reading that whales, they reach puberty when they're 120. They have puberty when they're 120. It's like, wow, you know. So, and also there are trees, you know, on the planet, many trees. There are thousands of years old, so their lifespan is much bigger. You know? So in a similar way, the idea is that time is relative, depending on the time, the place, the circumstances. Time is always relative, and also depending which body you have, time is relative. You know, of course, place. You know, you can within this planet there are different places. You know, if you're in New York, time runs different than in the Bavarian forest. You know. You feel it, you know. If you're in the Bavarian forest, you feel somehow relaxed, and there's a lot of time. You know, if you're in New York, there's no time. You know, like tourists always stick out in New York because they're walking too slow. You know, and they're looking up, like, oh my God, this building. Yeah. You know, New Yorkers are very fast. You know, they're always moving. You know, stress, running after money. So a different place, a different sensation of time. You know. And also circumstances. You know, if you're very happy, time runs very fast. You know, if you're very happy, you have a good time, time just flies. You know, and if you are, you know, suffering, or if you are, you know, expecting, you know, something, then time is very, very slow. You know, once I saw a very gruesome movie. It was very, I don't know, traumatizing almost. This movie. The movie was called 24 Hours. Maybe somebody saw it. So it's this guy, he's climbing somewhere in Colorado, somewhere in the mountains in America, and it's a real story, and he slips, you know, and he falls into this grove, you know, and the whole movie is about the 24 hours, you know, he spent there, you know, and it's like, it's, yeah, crazy, you know, this, at the end he has to cut his arm, you know, to escape it. So for him, those 24 hours were like eternity, basically, you know, and yeah, it's a true story. Yeah. So yes, the idea is that time is dependent on time, place, circumstances, and body. Time is different. So also different places, not only within this planet. The idea is that there is a relativity of time between different planets, you know, different areas of the universe. And according to the Vedas, there are 14 different dimensions, you know, or main planetary systems. And on the higher planetary systems, where Indra, the king of heaven, lives, time. The time ratio towards us is that their 12 hours is half a year here, you know, their daytime, and their 12 hours of night is another half year. You know? So, and it's interesting. There are some speculations that there is some connection between the North Pole and South Pole to the heavenly planets. You know? Because in the North Pole and South Pole, you have half a year sun, you know, half a year day, half a year night. You know, you knew that. So, and there's even in the Vedas some descriptions, you know, that Indra, for example, is considered to be blonde. You know, he's blonde. You know, so maybe he's a Viking or something. Somebody from the very far north. But of course, the description is that he's in a different planetary system. And then also the opposite is true if you go to a lower planetary system. So according to the Vedas, the planet Earth is a middle planetary system. If you go to a lower planetary system, time is going faster there than here. You know? So there are descriptions in Peru, in South America. In the Inca tradition, there are many descriptions of people who left the planet, you know, or were abducted, you know, to a different region of the world, and they were gone only for 2-3 weeks, and then they come back with the knowledge of a whole lifetime, you know, because they spent somewhere else a long, long time actually. Even they were gone only for a very short time here, you know. So these are very common stories in South America, and in the Vedas we have stories also about a king, for example, King Indradyumna. Right now we are, you know, celebrating we just celebrated a few days ago the Snan Yatra, the inauguration of the Jagannath temple, the Jagannath deities in Puri, the installation of those deities. And King Prithu is described, when he finished building this temple, he went to Brahma, you know, So Brahma is even higher than Indra. Indra is just controlling the heavenly planets. There is Tapaloka, Mahaloka, and then Satyaloka. So there's 3 higher planetary systems higher than Svarga, where Indra lives. So Brahma is considered to be the highest position within this universe. And his lifespan equals the lifespan of the entire universe, which according to the Vedas is in total 311 trillion years. So long lifespan. So one day of Brahma, is very, very long. It says in one day of Brahma, 1,000 cycles, of the 4 yugas reoccur. So that's 4.3 billion years, in one day. So you can calculate how much is 1 hour, or half an hour. So the description is that King Maharaj Indradyumna, with the help of Narada Muni, traveled to Brahma to invite him to the inauguration of the temple. So he went to invite him. He spent, short time there. He just went, invited Brahma, and then when he returned to the planet, half an hour in Brahma's place is, so many ages, so much time on this planet. So his temple was not even there. It was not even visible. And then the story continues. At the end, he managed to excavate it. He found it. They excavated the temple, and then they did the inauguration. So yes, relativity of time. And so Indra is the king of heaven, and this Indra is occupying a position which does not eternally belong to him. This is also very important. So according to the Vedas, or the Bhagavad Purana, it becomes very clear the different divinities that you find in the Vedic texts, they are not eternal positions. So because there's always the question or confusion, is Hinduism polytheistic or monotheistic? Means, do the Hindus have many gods, or is there only one God? What is it? Because of course for especially the Semitic traditions, that's very important. Semitic traditions means Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. They emphasize very strongly one God, the only one true God, something like that. And in the Vedas, for many people, it's confusing. Like sometimes when some Indian guests are here, we had Pracharananda Prabhu. He couldn't stop saying that because the stuff was so funny. He was a priest, a pujari, and then some Indians came, and then they said, "Please open the curtain. We want to see the gods." So, and it's for us it's very funny because the gods. So how many? How many you want to see? How many you have? How many gods you have on the altar? Yes, the answer is not simple. The answer is not yes or no. In the Vedic text, the idea is that they are very powerful personalities that are in charge for different aspects of nature. For example, fire, water, air. Different elements of nature are controlled by different divinities. But all of these occupations are basically administrative positions within the administration of the world, or the universe, you could also say. Similar, like we have a parliament. You have a parliament, and then government is elected, and then the government has, different ministries. Minister for railways, for home ministry, for defense, for foreign affairs, for family, for environment. So many different ministries. In a similar way, the idea is that the universe requires management, and different divinities occupy different positions like that. So the positions are eternal, but not the persons. Not the same person always occupies that position. Like that. So Indra, for example, he's the king of heaven, but he has a lifespan. He has a determined lifespan. Not only that, within his lifespan, Somebody else might be more qualified than him to occupy this position, and that's why in this story he's afraid, you know. So Indra is not an eternal god, you know. He's occupying a very high position, but very clearly he is afraid to lose that position, you know. And maybe you have experienced that, you know, when, you know, you have maybe in your workplace there's a competition for the same, you know, how you call it? Promotion, you know. They call it promotion? Yeah, no? You know, so you try to get a promotion, you know, to get like, you know, climb the career, you know. And there's this other person who is, you know, equal, you know, so you're competition against each other. Or maybe you have a very good position and you see this newcomer, you know, he's climbing the ladder very fast, you know, much faster than you did, you know. So you might also become, you know, afraid. So it's very similar, actually, the description we find here. Indra is actually concerned that Prithu Maharaj, you know, he has, you know, if you read the story before, you know, he has created a lot of infrastructure. He's ruling the whole world. He's so powerful, so popular, you know, so mighty, and now he's performing all these rituals and sacrifices, which could qualify him to become Indra himself, you know. So Indra is afraid of his position, and now he's sabotaging, you know, Prithu Maharaj. That's the story. So he's sabotaging Prithu Maharaj, and he's sabotaging in a very, you could say, unholy way, or very bad way. He is disguising himself as a holy person, you know, as a sannyasa, and he's described that he's using different sannyasa veshas, you know. So if you go to the Kumbh Mela, you know about the Kumbh Mela? No? You don't know about the Kumbh Mela? Your life is not complete. Everybody should know about the Kumbh Mela, because the Kumbh Mela, whenever it takes place, is the biggest gathering of humanity since time immemorial, you know. And last time it was 130 million people at the Kumbh Mela, and this year, how many? 630 million people, you know, participated in the Kumbh Mela in, I don't know, 30 days, something like this, you know. 630 million people. That's like more than the population of all of Europe, you know. Going to the Ganges and the Yamuna and Saraswati, Prayag, you know, the confluence. So in the Kumbh Mela, you will see all the different types of sannyasis, you know. Some sannyasis wear Akash Vesha, you know, means only air, you know, nothing, you know. They're naked, you know, naked sadhus, you know. Basically, their idea is, you know, how God made me, that's how I stay, you know. No complication, you know. Why should I spend time, you know, in the morning you stand in front of your cupboard, okay, what should I wear today, you know? Maybe this color, maybe that color, maybe a shirt. This looks nice. You look in the mirror, you know. And then your wife tells you, nah, forget, you know, you have to change again, you know. You know, we're going to the city. You look like you're going to work, you know. It's like, okay. So, you know, those sadhus, they don't want any complication, you know. They just say, no clothes, you know. And there's a few traditions in India that have this, you know, also the Jains saints also, they don't wear any clothes, you know. Naga Babas also. And other sannyasis, they decide on one color, you know, Also helps, you know. You don't have to decide between colors, you know. You know you're wearing the same color every day, you know. So, no complication, you know. You have 3 sets, you know. It's very simple, you know. It's very good for the mind, actually. And that's why, of course, in the army, you also have a uniform, you know. Imagine in the morning, you know, you know, everybody's trying to decide what to wear, you know. I'm going to put my American, you know, style dress today, you know. Like, no, I'm going to jungle camouflage today. So, and even like there's many people who like voluntarily have taken this, like trying to simplify their dress code, you know. Like for a very famous person is Steve Jobs, you know. He always wore the same thing, you know. Also Mark Zuckerberg is famous, you know. Gray t-shirt, blue jeans, you know. 10-piece, ready, you know. So, because it helps, Why complicate life, dressing up, So the same principle, and nowadays it's called Zen, Zen living. You might have heard Zen living, People want to do Zen, means a Zen apartment has as minimum stuff as possible, Because usually the tendency, if you have an apartment, you put things inside, and then you put it in the attic, and you put it in the cellar, and and then after some years, you have to clean up, you have to throw away so many things that you accumulated, So in Zen style living, the idea is, one knife, one knife. Why you need 10, one spoon, one bowl, everything as minimalistic and clean as possible to simplify life, to focus on essential things. And of course, the word Zen comes from the word dhyana. Dhyana means meditation or being conscious. Zen is just the Japanese version of dhyana. So the idea of a sannyasi, is that the way he dresses has a very deep, you could say, principle behind it. Somebody who's dressing like a sannyasa, he has, taken a very, you could say, conscious decision to simplify his life, to focus on essential things. And generally, the sannyasa, in our tradition, for example, the three dandi sannyasis, they say that their words, their body, and mind, or actions, mind, are fully engaged in the service of the Lord. That's all they do. So the problem which we have here is that Indra is supposed to have been the first person who put the dress of a sannyasi, for show. Not because he really believed in the principles or the ideals, of living simple and, focus on a higher principle. He misused the dress of a holy person to not be caught in his act of sabotage. He was trying to hide his sabotage, or his evil character behind the dress, or the appearance of a holy person. And Prithu Maharaj took it very seriously. He was basically ready to kill him even. And this is very telling because we have also in the Bhagavatam, later on in the 12th canto, predictions for our age, the age of Kali. So according to the Vedas, we are living in the age of Kali, or the Iron Age, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, as opposed to other ages where virtues like compassion, purity, truthfulness, etc., were, in high regard. Nowadays, things have changed. Even in our recent memory, people know that before, when somebody, if you give your word, it should mean something. Nowadays, people give their word and break it. Without a second thought. So this is our age. That means it's hypocritical. You don't really mean it. In the past, if you gave your word, to break your own word, meant like basically you are dead, your honor is destroyed. You're like, so this is all gone. So in the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, we find that people, are very superficial. And one of the predictions is that, one of the many predictions, how things turn bad in this age of Kali, is that religious persons are respected only because of their appearance and not because of their character. So that's a very easy trap. And basically, Indra started, with this trend. India started this very bad trend, and it's unfortunately common in our age, and there's no religion is. No tradition is exempt. In all traditions you will find, people who are in very high posts of position. They dress like a, holy person, but in reality they have a very foul character. Satchidananda Maharaj once said, sometimes, unfortunately, I have to say, we have gold teeth, but they're rotten underneath. So, yes, it's Kali Yuga, and it's. it is expected, so it should not be surprising in one sense. But to finalize the lecture, Prithu Maharaj was ready to punish, Indra for doing something like that, introducing such a negative trend, and the priests, they stop him. He says Ramhasam. He was what is it called? With velocity, means basically he was like grabbing his bow and he was ready, to chastise, Indra. And the priests, they stop him. The priests, they stop him because they say that this sacrificial ceremony that is being performed should not be desecrated. In this sacrificial ceremony, only the animals intended for sacrifice are to be killed, and even then, you can only kill an animal with the right proper pronunciation of Vedic mantras, and if it's done properly, this animal which is sacrificed receives a new life. That's actually considered to be the proof that the sacrifice was also successful. So if you can't do that, you should not kill. That's the idea, and this sounds like magic, but that's the standard that is set, for these animal sacrifices. So usually in the Vedic texts, you will find that Indra, being the king of heaven, is praised with so many hymns. If you read the Rig Veda, so many verses glorify Lord Indra. And he's of course also the beneficiary of the sacrifices. But here, Srila Prabhupada is saying that, or this is the, you could say, the confusion. How does Prabhupada say? How then could Indra be killed when he is actually worshipped in the yajna and accepted as part and parcel of Supreme Personality of Godhead? So that's very interesting, because usually Indra is one of the main recipients of yajna. In traditional Vedic yajnas, all the devatas get a share, of the yajna, like a quota system, Each devata gets as part of the yajna. And, we know the story when Indra did not receive his yajna. He became a little bit upset, in the Govardhan Lila. But what's very interesting to understand and know is that the Bhagavatam disqualifies Indra, for sure. In the Vedas, he is exalted, as the king of heaven, which is certainly a very high position. But in the Bhagavatam, Indra does not look so good anymore. His faults are very clear, and in this situation, even he is the receiver of the sacrifice. He was supposed to be sacrificed. Prithu Maharaj was ready to sacrifice him in his own sacrifice, you could almost say. So, but it's been prevented by the priests. Okay, I think I'll stop here, but maybe there are some questions, comments. Yes.
I wonder what would change when, if Indra would lose his position, would just the soul get out of the body in this position, and the body would stay there, so the blonde or northern body, and some other soul would take the position, or would it be that the whole other person would be there with the other body?
Yeah, no, the Indra, there are many Indras, So some Indras are described like that. Some other Indras might have different features. And generally speaking, like I said, the Indra would remain in his own body, and he would just not be anymore in the position. Just like a minister, can lose his cabinet, or they change the cabinet, Sometimes within a period of 5 years, they reshuffle the cabinet, And then some ministers which were not doing a good job, they lose their cabinet position, So in the same way, So Indra would lose, He can go to the job center, and Prithu Maharaj would become the new Indra. Yeah, like that. Yes. Anything else? Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Such themes who nobody else discussed.
Because I won't be able to find bus for my home then. I did because there's a 2 hour, 1.5 2 hour connection in Wald Station. That's why it is dropping off that late. I didn't check that before. We did work.
So, where do you have? You have to go to Passau. Passau Alpenhof.
Passau Alpenhof to Coldbrook.
Coldbrook.
It's in Passau actually.
So, what connection you don't have? Coldbrook? Passau to Coldbrook?
Passau to Coldbrook. It's a Sunday today because I didn't check that. Like usually we come on a weekday and the connections to from Wald Station are also good. So yeah. But this time the connection is like 2 hour, 1.5 hour something.
Okay.
From
So
Wald Station to like a waiting period.
And
then there is a 1 hour bus.
So you have a bus from Passau to Coldbrook, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. And when do you have it in the afternoon?
Afternoon, the one bus runs at 11, then the second one runs at